We are in a very hostile cultural situation at hand when people are very sensitive and people do not listen to one another, do not let each other speak openly and honestly. And in order to have honest communication, the fundamental premise is that both parties must be engaging with one another in good faith. You have to want to actually understand the other person in order to have communication going on. That means clearing yourself of prejudice. Now, that word prejudice has some baggage to it, especially because of the politically correct types sabotaging that word. The well has been thoroughly poisoned when it comes to social discourse. It is just extremely difficult to talk about meaningful ideas because things like this are loaded terms now. So prejudice. People who think that they stand against prejudice are those who are most able to fall into having prejudicial beliefs themselves and not realizing it. If your behaviors exhibit a double standard and you are not held to account for that double standard, in your paradigm, you give an exemption for yourself because you don't listen to the opposition because the opposition is evil. So even if they're pointing out a legitimate double standard that you are expressing through your behaviors, oh, well, that doesn't matter because that was a bad person that said it and that doesn't count. So I'm still a virtuous person that's not engaging in any hypocrisy because I'm burying my head in the ground. I'm ignoring the hypocrisy that I am committing because the other person that's bringing up the point, I'm not going to refute their ideas because I can't refute their ideas. I'm refuting their character. I don't like them, so their criticism of me is illegitimate. That is flawed logic. You're wrong. You do not have an adequate view of reality if you dismiss a person's claims because you disagree with their personality. You can dismiss a person's claims after you've debunked the poor rationality and the poor reasoning or the lack of facts supporting that argument that they've made. Pointing at someone and saying, oh, you like Swiss cheese and only evil people like Swiss cheese. Again, using innocuous examples here, you see how absurd that is. But put something politically incorrect there and it gets difficult for people to question their own biases, especially when they have fooled themselves into believing that they are anti-having biases. So I can't have any biases because that's what we fight against. Yeah, so to wrap things up, recognize the difference between words and actions. If you say, you believe in this, I believe in something else, here's why I believe in this. And if you really want to make sure that you understand the communication, then have the other person repeat back your argument. Because a person cannot make your argument if they don't understand it. And if someone genuinely wants to understand your perspective, then they will be able to make your arguments as if you made them yourself. If not, there is a lack of understanding there. How did this person come to this perspective where they believe in something that's different than me? They had to have gotten there from a different thought process than me because I am standing in a different opinion box. So there's a divergence. So I want to understand what led him over there but me over here. Sometimes I have to be honest with myself, and people around me say good things about me when I criticize people because they said something that was racist. Oh, that's so terrible and so racist. I feel like I have a sense of power when I call someone racist. Thing is, people who engage in that sort of hall monitor behavior are very dishonest with themselves about why they engage in those behaviors. It's left unquestioned. And things that you are socially applauded for generally are left unquestioned because having positive social feedback from others, you don't really need to ask yourself, well, why am I doing this? Well, I like the attention from other people. I like being perceived as a good person. So I don't have to justify why this is good for myself if everyone around me is telling me that it's good. And that gets into dangerous territory when you believe something that's popular that is harmful, especially when there is deception involved. Things can lead to harm. Misconceptions can lead to harm because you think you are believing in one thing, you think that you are supporting one thing, but it actually leads to something else, but you can't see that because you just have a limited perspective of it. And the person that's criticizing your perspective, they might have another aspect that you can't see. Just take the concept of racism and look at the double standards of people who are actually suffering. If you have any honesty in your heart, if you have any honesty whatsoever about who is suffering under this political correctness. I've already said who you can be mad at. You can be mad at white people for days. You can't be mad at blacks. Who's oppressed in this situation? You tell me. This is psychosis. We are living in a time of societal psychosis, and I really hope that future generations can hear audio recordings like this so that they understand what mentally ill times we were living in looking back.